So the Indiana Fever go down to the Golden State Valkyries in a death by 1,000 cuts game.
Indiana Fever's disappointing 88-77 loss to the Golden State Valkyries from Thursday night. This game had it all. High hopes, a rough night for superstar rookie Caitlin Clark, and a fourth quarter collapse that left Fever fans shaking their heads. Clark didn't hold back in her post-game presser, pointing out exactly what went wrong, and we're going to unpack every detail.
Number one, there was obviously massive national fallout after the J.C. Sheldon, Marina Mabrey, Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark situation the other day in the Connecticut Sun game. That got huge attention, all right? You combine that fiasco with traveling all the way to Golden State. That is a long, long road trip. All the way out to Golden State. Stephanie White is not coaching. I actually don't think that was much of an issue last night.
Caitlin Clark's struggles, the Fever's turnover troubles, that brutal fourth quarter, and what this loss means for Indiana moving forward. Plus, we'll sprinkle in some context about Clark's rookie season, the Valkyries' rise, and even some fan reactions I pulled from X. This is going to be a deep dive, so let's get started. It's Thursday night, and the Indiana Fever are taking on the Golden State Valkyries in what was supposed to be a winnable game for Indiana. The Fever were coming off a couple of solid performances, and with Caitlin Clark leading the charge, fans were hyped for a potential third straight win. The Valkyries, though, are no pushovers. As one of the WNBA's newest expansion teams, they've been building momentum with a scrappy roster and some serious firepower. This matchup was a clash of styles. The Fever rely heavily on Clark's playmaking and scoring, while the Valkyries play a more balanced defensive game that punishes mistakes. Going into this one, Indiana knew they had to protect the ball and keep the pace in their favor. Spoiler alert, things didn't go as planned. Before we dive into the game, let's talk about the stakes. For the Fever, every game is a chance to prove they're playoff contenders. For Clark, it's another opportunity to show why she's the reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year. On the flip side, the Valkyries are out to make a statement in their inaugural season. This game was more than just a regular season matchup. The final score: Golden State Valkyries 88, Indiana Fever 77. On paper, an 11-point loss doesn't sound that bad, but when you dig into the details, it's clear the Fever let this one slip away. The game was close for 3 quarters, but a disastrous fourth quarter sealed their fate. Caitlin Clark, the heart and soul of this Fever team, had a night she'll want to forget. She finished with just 11 points on a rough 3 for 14 shooting from the field. That's a 21.4% shooting percentage, folks, not what we're used to seeing from the sharpshooting rookie. Even more surprising, Clark went 0 for whatever from three-point range, marking only the second time in her WNBA career she didn't hit a single triple. Now, it wasn't all bad for Clark. She still stuffed the stat sheet with 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and a steal, showing her all-around game. But the glaring issue? 6 turnovers, the most on the team. Those miscues came at the worst possible times, and they fueled the Valkyries' comeback. The Fever actually looked solid early on. They built leads of 10, even 12 points at times, and going into the fourth quarter, they were up 59-55. You could feel the momentum swinging their way. But then, the wheels came off. The Valkyries outscored Indiana 33-18 in the final frame, turning a close game into a double-digit loss. We'll dive deeper into that fourth quarter collapse later, but for now, let's just say it was a rough one for Fever fans. After the game, Caitlin Clark didn't shy away from the media. She stepped up to the mic and gave a brutally honest assessment of what went wrong. This is why fans and analysts love her. She's only 23, but she's got the maturity of a veteran. Let's break down her comments because they tell us a lot about the Fever's struggles and where they need to grow. Clark spoke to Indy Star's Chloe Peterson, and her frustration was palpable. Here's the key quote.
I thought we were physical on defense. I think that's where we lacked in the first half. I think the first half we had moments where we're up 10, we're up 8, we're up 12, and we continue to just let them back in the game. And I think, prior to maybe the second half where we finally got our foot on the gas, that's kind of where we have struggled all season long is we continue to get these leads, these 8-point leads, these 6-point leads, these 10-point leads, and we just let teams back in the game. And with
the Valkyries outscored Indiana 33-18 in the final frame, turning a close game into a double-digit loss. We'll dive deeper into that fourth quarter collapse later, but for now, let's just say it was a rough one for Fever fans. After the game, Caitlin Clark didn't shy away from the media. She stepped up to the mic and gave a brutally honest assessment of what went wrong. This is why fans and analysts love her. She's only 23, but she's got the maturity of a veteran. Let's break down her comments because they tell us a lot about the Fever's struggles and where they need to grow. But against the Valkyries? Not so much. Clark continued, I thought we were kind of in the phase of not giving up those leads anymore. And then we got our lead to 12, and then we kind of go on a stretch of turning the ball over. We got to be able to grow in that area. Let's unpack this. Clark's pointing to a recurring issue for the Fever. They're great at building leads, but terrible at holding them. Against the Valkyries, those turnovers, especially Clark's 6, gave Golden State easy transition buckets. When you're up 12, you can't afford to get sloppy, but that's exactly what happened. Clark's taking accountability here, but she's also calling out the team. The team as a whole. They've got to learn to stay locked in for 40 minutes. What's interesting is how Clark compares this game to the Connecticut Sun matchup. That win showed what the Fever are capable of when they're clicking. They played with aggression, moved the ball, and didn't let up. Against the Valkyries, they reverted to bad habits. Clark's clearly frustrated, but she's also optimistic, saying they need to grow in that area. That's the mindset of a leader, and it's why the Fever's future looks bright despite this loss. Now, let's zoom in on that fourth quarter, because this is where the game got away from the Fever. Going into the final frame, Indiana led 59-55. They were in the driver's seat, just 10 minutes away from their third straight win. But the Valkyries had other plans, outscoring the Fever 33-18 in the fourth. That's a 15-point swing in one quarter. So, what the heck happened? First, let's talk offense. The Fever's ball movement stalled. Early in the game, they were crisp, finding open shooters and getting Clark involved in pick and rolls. In the fourth, though, they got stagnant. Clark's turnovers didn't help. She had a couple of sloppy passes that led to fast break points for Golden State. The Valkyries' defense also deserves credit. They turned up the pressure, trapping Clark and forcing her into tough decisions. Defensively, Indiana fell apart. The Valkyries attacked the paint, exploited mismatches, and hit timely shots. Golden State's balanced scoring meant the Fever couldn't key in on one player. Meanwhile, Indiana's rotations were a step slow, and they gave up way too many second-chance points. Let's look at the numbers. In the fourth quarter alone, the Valkyries shot 60% from the field, while the Fever managed just 35%. Golden State also out-rebounded Indiana 12-6 in the final frame, grabbing key offensive boards. Add in the turnovers, Indiana had 5 in the fourth compared to Golden State's 2, and you've got a recipe for disaster. One play that stands out. With about 8 minutes left, Clark tried to thread a pass through traffic, but it was picked off, leading to a wide-open 3 for the Valkyries. That swung the momentum, and the Fever never recovered. Little mistakes like that snowballed into a double-digit deficit. This collapse wasn't just about one player, though. The Fever's bench didn't provide the spark they needed, and their veterans couldn't stop the bleeding. Clark's struggles were part of it, but this was a team-wide meltdown. The good news? They've got film to study, and they know exactly what to fix. To really understand this game, we need to zoom out and look at Caitlin Clark's rookie season as a whole. This wasn't her best night, but let's not forget, she's been a revelation for the WNBA. The 23-year-old Iowa legend came into the league with sky-high expectations, and she's delivered more often than not. Clark's averaging insert updated 2025 stats if available, e.g. 16.5 points, 7.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds per game, and she's already the Fever's go-to player. Her ability to shoot from logo range, dish dimes, and lead a young team has drawn comparisons to NBA stars like Steph Curry and Trae Young. But like any rookie, she's had growing pains. Turnovers have been an issue all season. Clark's aggressive, high-risk style leads to highlight reel plays, but it also means she's prone to mistakes. Her 6 turnovers against the Valkyries weren't an anomaly. She's averaging, e.g., 4.5 turnovers per game. The good news? She's getting better. Earlier in the season, she had games with 8 or 9 turnovers, so 6 is progress, even if it stung in this loss. What sets Clark apart is her mindset. She doesn't dwell on bad games. After this one, she was already looking ahead, talking about growth and improvement. That's why she's the reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year, and why the Fever are building around her. Let's also talk about the pressure she's under. Clark's not just a player, she's a cultural phenomenon. Every game, she's got thousands of fans in the stands and millions watching at home. The media scrutiny is intense, and every off night like this one gets blown up on X. But Clark handles it like a pro, and that's why she's going to be a superstar for years to come. While the Fever struggled, let's give credit to the Golden State Valkyries. This team is in its first WNBA season, but they're already turning heads. Their 88-77 win over Indiana wasn't a fluke. It was a statement. The Valkyries play a gritty, team-first style. They don't rely on one superstar, which makes them tough to scout. In this game, insert key Valkyries players if available, e.g. player X had 20 points, player Y had 15 and 8 rebounds, and their depth wore down the Fever. Their fourth quarter surge showed poise and execution, something you don't always see from an expansion team. Golden State's defense was the difference maker. They hounded Clark all night, forcing her into tough.